All right, so I'm going to skip this. I think we'll look at it next week. Okay, so I'll give you two examples, and then you'll have a your turn. So what we're going to do is we're going to sketch the graph of these. I know I didn't say that in instructions, but that's what the point of this is. We're going to look at this and sketch the graph. Okay, so the first one, now even if you don't get the leading term and the constant term, you can still graph this, pointing out that we have this even exponent here. All right. And so then the next one we'll get to has the two odd exponents, and I think it's got, well, never mind. Thinking too much. All right. All right, so let's just go ahead and get the x-intercepts. So when you put these, you're going to get 0 here, 3 there, -5/2, and 4. Okay, so we just go ahead and put those on a number line. And then I'm not going to try to be spatially correct. All right, so now if we got the leading term, we could kind of tell the left and right branches. But even if we didn't do that, we can just use test points. So, any number within each of these 5 intervals would give you the positive or negative y. So it doesn't matter what number you pick. So I'm just going to, just don't be too close to the x-intercepts. I'm going to pick -5 here. I'm going to pick -1 here. I'll pick 1 there, 3.5 here, and 10 there. So again, we don't really care about the value. We just want to know if it's positive or negative. How many positives and negatives we're multiplying? Okay, well, x squared is always positive. Okay, so if you put -5 in, we're going to negative, we're going to get a negative, and we're going to get a positive. All right, well, looks to me like we got 2 negatives, so that means a positive y. Okay, and then -1. Again, x squared is always positive. Put a -1 here, you get a negative. -1 here, you get a positive. -1 here, you get a positive. Okay, we got 1 negative. Okay, so this is going to go down. Now I'm going to do the same thing with 1. X squared is always positive. 1 minus 3, negative. 1 times 2 plus 5, positive. 4 minus 1, positive. Again, we only have 1 negative, so graph's going down. Okay, and then 3.5. X squared is always positive. 3.5 minus 3, positive. 3.5 times 2 plus 5, positive. And 4 minus 3.5, positive. So graph goes up. Okay, and then 10, always positive. This is going to be positive with 10. That's going to be positive with 10. This is going to be negative with 10. So positive, 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 negative. Graph goes down. And now we're done. And notice the only place where it touched but did not cross came from the 0 resulting from the x that was squared. Because on either side of 0, there's no change because we're squaring it. So this is always going to be positive. Right? But even without multiplicity, we're still able to graph it. Okay, now the one on the bottom is easier because there's no even multiplicity, so you know you're always going to have loopy wave. You're always going to cross the x-intercepts. You're not going to have the situation with the one on the bottom. Okay, so get the x-intercepts. So -1, -2, 1/2, and 6. Okay, and this time I'm going to get the leading term, because since we know there's no even exponents, we can make the graph once we know how it starts, because then we can just loop through them all. Okay, so this one I'm going to do a little differently because it's a shortcut. All right, so let's get the leading term. All right, so the leading term comes from all of the exponents that are in the binomials. Now we got to include the exponents on the binomials too. So we're going to have our x, then we're going to have our x to the third power, then we're going to have our 2x, and then we're going to have our negative x to the fifth power. So we're just removing the numbers. We're only keeping the variable part of the binomial, and we're also including the exponent on the binomial. Okay, so let's see, what's our exponent? 1 plus 3, 4, plus 1, 5, plus 5. So we've got a x to the 10th, and we got a 2, and since this is a negative to a fifth power, it's going to stay negative, so we've got a -2 to the 10th. Okay, so its leading term is even. It's got a negative coefficient, so the left and right branches are going to go down. Since we don't see any even exponents, now all we have to do is this, and we're done. That's a lot easier if you can do it. But the backup plan is test points. And again, when this gets complicated, test points always work. So, okay. I'm going to give you all to do 1 on 2 on your own.